you are fine, let's start our lecture. Our today's lecture is about resource management, and in today's topic, we will cover 2 points of our section number 1. We have to understand the key features of resource management. We will understand what are the resources and how we can resources in effective way. So for that, we have to discuss how we can analyze the different resources requirements of organization in different sectors. How we in different sectors like in human areas or in technology factor or in timeline factors, how we can manage over different sort of resources, and then we have to outline key requirements relevant to resource management. Like we have to learn the skills that are involved in the resource management and how we can improve the resource management, because whenever we are utilizing our resources in much better way, we can easily go towards the success. So we have to learn the skills and the requirements that are related to the resource management in any organization in different sectors of economy. Now, first of all, we have to understand what are the resources, because when we have the idea what are the resources, we can easily manage the resources. Then we will learn the techniques how we can manage the resources in an managed or effective way. So resources can include there are two main types of resources: human resources and non-human resources. And in human resources, there are the managers, labors and other staff is included. And in non-human resources, the physical space, equipment, technology, time, financial needs, all things are included. So overall, generally we can say that the resources are the financials, labor, physical space, equipment, technology, and so on, each and everything that is related to our organization that helps us to complete our task or to complete our goal. These are our resources. By utilizing the resources, we can complete over any task. And if we have not sufficient resources, or we have not the resources, needed resources, we will be unable to complete the task. Either that is a technology, that is a labor, or that is the a platform on which we have to work, or that is the physical space. So each and every resource is important to complete our services and to go towards the goal. So we can say that these are the resources are essential to reach our goal, and whether that will be completing a task or project or helping you analyze what is necessary to do. Either we are analyzing or we are planning, we have to think about the resources, because whenever we are on the planning phase of any project, we have to plan what resources what things are required to complete our task. So for anything that we want to do, we have to use the resources, because without using resources, we cannot do even a single task. Now, what is resource management? When we are planning the resources, which resources are needed, how we have to use these resources, at which time period, which resources we have to use, for how much time we are utilizing that resources. Either we are taking that resources on the rent, or we are purchasing these resources. So all the things that is related to managing our resources is resource management. So we can say that whenever we are planning, scheduling, and allocating people, money, and technology to a project or program, that is over resource management. We have to plan each and everything. If we are planning any goal, we have to list down which technology is needed, which machines are needed, how many persons are needed, which skills are needed by that persons, how much time is needed. So these are the resources. We have to manage these resources before start of our work. And when we are managing these resources and we are allocating different tasks to the skilled person or to the machines, like we can say that these tasks will be done on that machine and these tasks will be done on another machine. So these are that tasks are involved in resource management. So we can say that it is the process of allocating resources to achieve the greatest organizational value, because before starting our work, we will be sure that there will be no shortage of resources, time, or anything. Whenever we are doing overwork, we will try our level best to manage each and everything before the start of our work. If there is some mismanagement or there is some problem occurred, we can manage little bit problems at that time. But if we are not planning at all, we will be unable to manage the blunders that we have to face during the processing. So why we need resource management? As I told you, if we are not managing the things or we are not planning the things, we will not be succeed towards our goal. That is the main thing. If we want to do work in healthy and better environment, we have to manage each and everything, not the resources. We have to manage over time, we have to manage everything. So we must do the resource management, so that enables business to utilize the skilled workforce and improve the profitability. If we are managing each and everything in our budget and within the time, it will be easy for us to go toward the profit. If we are utilizing too much time, we are not meeting our deadlines, and we are hiding the more stuff that is more related to our need. We need only 2 persons, but we have no idea how many persons are needed, and we are hiring 10 persons, so we are paying extra to 8 persons. So we are extra giving over, or we are increasing our expenses when we are doing any project. So when the expenses are higher, the profit will be lower. So whenever we are managing our resources, we can easily go towards the profitability. So it is the main thing that plays a significant role in improving a business profitability and sustainability. If we are on the peak level, or we are on the growth level, we have to sustain that level. If we are not focusing the areas that are good for us, and we are not improving over weak areas, we cannot go towards the continuous growth of our company. So we have to go towards the sustainability. Not only one time we are achieving the goal, we have to sustain that growth and that achievements. We can say that it also enables you to minimize both idle time and overutilization of resources. Like we are overburdenizing any person that is working inside our organization. Sometimes whenever we are giving extra work to any person and other persons are sitting idle, that will also create a poor environment, poor working environment in our organization. And in the end, there will not be a healthy environment, and they can switch their jobs, or they will not be satisfied. And when our employees are not satisfied, they cannot do work in effective way. So we have to utilize our resources, so no one is sitting idle, and no one is overburdenized. So we have to manage all the skilled person in an effective way. With fully visibility, both work and resources, you can more effectively schedule, plan, and manage your resources, aligning them with the right projects at the right time. Because we are not working on the single project, we have the limited resources, and we have to manage the resources in such a way that if one project is using the same resources, we have to manage the same resources along with another project in the next time slot. So we have to manage our resources for different time phases or in different time frames, so we can do parallel work on parallel projects. So there are a lot of benefits whenever we are doing the resource management. These are improved project success, predictable project timelines, more accurate estimates, improved profitability, better employee satisfaction, effective use of resources, better informed hiring decisions, improved project flow, predictable patterns for success. Now we will discuss these benefits one by one. The first one is we can improve project success. Like if we are not planning the resources at the start, and after some time there is a shortage of technology, or we comes to know that we need a machine, for ordering that machine and for the delivering of the machine, it takes 2 weeks. We will be unable to complete the deadline for that task. We extended over time, 2 weeks, we are taking 2 weeks extra for over that task, and in the end we are taking a lot of time for completion of that project. So it will not give us the success. But if we are planning each and everything, we are 80% sure about our success. So it will improve the project success chances. And also, whenever we are doing our work in more effective way, there are more chances of success. And like if we are gaining the 80% of profitability, now we can get the 90% of profitability, and we are getting the growth uh, up to 80% or 90%. So our success rate increases when we are planning over resources. So most project managers know that in order to deliver a successful project, one needs a successful plan in place. Whenever we are not planning anything, there will be errors whenever we are processing that project. So resource plan acts as a roadmap for a project success, helping to detail which resources are needed at which time, as well as which deliverables will be expected at which time. So we are mentioning the timelines, also we are mentioning the which resources are needed at which time frame. So we can also utilize that resources along with another project if another project needs the same resources. So we will plan at which time frame we are allocating that resources to the project when, and after the completion of that task we will hand over that resources to project number 2. So there is no need to purchase the new resources for the new project. We will manage that resources in different time frames. So we can say that it will be a structure for our success. It is giving the structure how we can gain the success. So think of it as having a map to cross a desert versus we are trying to cross blindly. Like we are following some map, and in on the other hand we are in desert and we have no map. We don't know about the locations, about the passages. So we can say that what situation is better. Of course, if we have the map, that is much easier for the traveler to reach to there his or her destination safely and effectively. If we are crossing the desert blindly, there is very less chances to reach on the destination. Like if we are handling each and everything in a managed way, we can predict the project timeline, how much time will be needed by every task. Like we have to do the 10 tasks for completion of a project. We can estimate task number 1 will take the 2 weeks, task 2 will take the 4 weeks, task 3 will take the 5 weeks, and so on. So we can predict how much time is needed for each task, and whenever we will complete all the tasks, we can estimate how much time the whole project will be take. So we can predict the timeline. So one of the main reasons project managers rely on the resource management plan is to set the realistic expectations with the client or stakeholder about the project timeline. We can exactly tell, like we have 4 team members and all the persons are doing the work on that project. So these 4 persons can complete that work in 1 month. Or if we need that work in 3 weeks or 2 weeks, we can increase over team members. So we can manage the resources according to the time, and we can ensure that towards our customer as well as toward our stakeholder how much time will be needed if we are utilizing that resources or that teams, that employs. So a resource management plan includes a detailed timeline of resource use, project progress, including details with specific project deliverables can be expected. Whenever we are delivering the task number 1 towards our customer, we are delivering the first services. Like we have to plan, we are making the 1,000 products. In the end, we have to hand over and the 10 sets of 100 under 2 over customer after the like we have to deliver after 2 weeks one set, then after 2 weeks second set, and working in such a way we have to deliver all these products to our customers. So we have to decide that when and how much we have to deliver to our customer. So resource management takes the guesswork out of the project timeline. It will help to set the expectations with the stakeholder as well as provide a baseline for project manager to measure the project progress. So we can utilize that how much work has done, 40%, 60%, 70%, or 80%. When we are sure about how many persons are working, which technology we are using, which machines we are using, how much physical space we have to utilize, and how much things are we are utilizing, what are our raw materials, which things are needed, we can more accurately estimate all the things over time, over cost. Each and everything can be estimated accurately. So it can sometimes be difficult to estimate a project, especially if the project is new. We are not sure about the services, as we have not provided these services before that time. So that is new experience for us. So it is very difficult to estimate the time, cost, and everything in such situation. So this is one of the reasons resource management is important. With a good resource management process, it is easier to create more accurate estimate. We can estimate that how much things, how much time, and how much cost is required when we are managing our resources in better way. This is because the project manager can more accurately break down which resources will be needed to complete a project as well as the associated cost, empowering the salesperson or a manager to more accurately calculate the project cost and profit margins. So we have to estimate how much cost is needed, and according to that cost we can calculate the our project, and we can tell our stakeholder and customer what can be a profit ratio. That slightly can change, but we can not exactly telling each and everything, we are estimating the things. So it also provide a record of historical data from the previous resource plans and projects to better inform budgets for the new projects. Like the old things we are doing, we have a platform or the layout for that project, so that is available, that experience is available in our data. We can get the hints from that experience, and according to today's rates we can judge the budget as well as the timelines for our project. It will improve the profitability that we discussed earlier, that whenever we are doing our work in healthy environment and in more accurate environment, it will go towards the more profitability. So because of improved insight, we have done the future work at the start, and we can judge that how much time is needed and how much cost is needed. We have planned each and everything, and we have planned the ratio of our profit, so we can increase the ratio, or we whenever we are facing any problem, we can slightly can change the resources or the cost or the expense to improve our profitability, because we are somehow sure, or we are estimated each and everything at the start. So organizations can use the resource management to improve their overall profitability. One of the biggest challenge in profitability in the professional way, we can say that we have to attribute the cost to actual project, because at the start whenever we are planning any project, sometimes the cost increased a lot, like it can be double or triple to overestimated cost whenever we are implementing that project. So estimation of the cost is very difficult whenever we are planning each and everything. Sometimes the rates increase, sometimes the time increase, so estimation of the cost is very difficult. Sometimes we have estimated that that project will take the $500 but when we started the work, the taxes has increased and the cost has increased for the over machinery and for over labor, each and everything, and that goes towards the $1,500 or $1,000. So we are unable to complete our task, or we cannot exactly estimate how much cost is needed for completion of that project. So it is very difficult task. But when we are going towards the resource management, it simplifies this process. We are only giving the estimation. If the rates fluctuate, we can inform our stakeholder, or whenever we are writing the cost inside the project, we are writing that cost in the range. So whenever there is any flaw or anything happens during that project, we can manage into that range. We will try to manage that things in that given range. So especially when the company uses a resource management tool, it will help to better predict and track the resource use. This is turn inform more educated project estimate and profit margins. Whenever we are assigning the similar task to the similar skilled person, and we are not overburdenizing any person, and we are not giving irrelevant work to any person, so there will be more employee satisfaction. An employee who is overworked consistently behind schedule, are taking part in too many simultaneous projects, is going to feel burdened and dissatisfied to their job. So whenever we are planning the resources, we have to manage all the employees according to their skills, according to their availability, and according to their time. And we are not overburdenizing any person. So in such a way, they will not feel burdenized and dissatisfied. So this is why resource management is an important asset to the company. So resource management quantifies the work an employee has to do on his or her workplace, and the project manager will help them if they are facing any problem or any difficulty and need any help. It will help He will help them, and the project managers make more strategic decisions about who to include on new project and when to do so. So this help to prevent work overload, which can improve employee morale and satisfaction. Effective use of resources. When we are allocating the resources according to our task, we can effectively use resources. We are not giving the same resource or planning the same resource parallel at the same time in both projects. We are planning that in month of July, the project one will utilize that resource. In month of June or August, the other project will use that resource. So we can effectively use the resources. We are not purchasing too much resources. We are managing our available resources within our organization. So we are not overloading the employees is one side of the project management. The other is that we are ensuring companies making the most of the resources they have. We are not hiring the new persons for new project. We are assigning the work, or we are managing the work according to our availability of our employees. We are utilizing our employees in effective way. Like if one person is doing the work on two projects at the same time, when he will be free, we will assign that resource to another project, and the person who is doing the work on three and four project, we will shift that persons in place of person number one. So we are swapping our resources from one to another, and we are managing their time and their work according to their skills. So this is especially true in companies that have limited resources, because they cannot afford the new employees hirings or the new machinery purchasing. So we have to utilize the resources in more effective way. So resource management is important for seeing what percentage of resource time is currently being used and who is available. So according to that, we are assigning the task, ensuring the more balanced workloads and more effective use of resources. We are not overburdenizing any person, or we are not we are sure about that no one is free at any time. So we are utilizing best way, utilizing our resources in best way. better informed hiring decisions. There is recurring state in growth cycle where workload exceed available resources. We have not planned, or there is something flaw in our management. So sometimes our growth is go towards the decline phase, and the employees are not satisfied and they are overloaded, or we are using the machines 24/7, and that machine is overloaded by the work, and by over use of overutilization of that resource, we are reducing the age of that machine. So we have to think about all the things. So however, this state can be difficult to pinpoint without an effective resource management system. Whenever we don't know about which resource is using in which project at which time, we will not pinpoint from where that machine is overutilized. So with effective resource management, however, project manager can not only track when they are running short of resources, but can also see which project are in the pipeline and which resource need are pending. So before start of, whenever we are handing over resources to new project, we have to check that either the project one has completed their work with that resource, and that resource is available at the same time for the project two or not. So we have to check each and everything. This can help provide better insight into whether the current resource pool is sufficient to manage current and pending projects need, or whether a new or temporary hire needs to be made. So we can hire the employee at the daily wages are on. We can hire the visiting persons inside our organization. So for a temporary basis, or we can take that resource as the rent as a machine. So we have to um, go through in that situations. It will improve the project flow. Resource management is important for filling in gaps between where you are now and where you want to go. So if something takes more time, so the next for the next task we are minimizing over time. So we have to manage over time, and by doing that we can go in the smooth way. So it helps to create a roadmap for the project, help the project to move between the departments if needed more smoothly and more effectively. By setting expectations and improving the communication and visibility, project managers find that project flow much more smoothly. So if there is any error, they will solve that error time by time. We can predict the patterns for success. If there is any error occurred, we have to solve that error that time, and we can set the patterns how we can go towards the success. We have to overcome every situation, and by doing that we can predict the patterns through which we can go towards the project. Once a project has been successfully completed, a resource management plan allows a project manager to more easily replicate that success. Like if we are in the same department or in the same services, we have to do another project, so we can follow the previous roadmap, and we can make the improvements in that roadmap, and we can go towards the success. We can use that succeed roadmap for the future as a pattern. So some project management software allows you to transform a successful project into a resource management template. Like in different softwares, we are using the template. So that success plan, we can use that success plan as a template for the future work that can be adopted for use with the future projects. Now, these are the techniques that we can use for the resource management. There are a lot of techniques, but the most commonly used techniques are these. We will discuss these techniques one by one. So organization use the following resource management technique to maximize resource efficiency to help leaders make smarter resource allocations and resource management. Resource allocation, resource utilization, resource leveling, and resource forecasting. Now we will discuss these one by one. Resource allocation involves more than just assigning resources to project. We are not allocating for that time we are giving that machine to project one, and for that time we are giving that machine to project number two. We also have to define if the resource one is missing, what will be the alternative. So we are not only assigning the resources, we have to go towards the alternatives. It consider the skill your team brings to the table along with their availability. Like if one goes on the uh, leave, sick leave, or any emergency has happened, we must know what will be the alternative, because we are not in the state to hold on over work. So we must think about the alternative. So allocation reports will enable you to filter the resources by skill and capacity. So you can not only see who is available now, but also when certain skills will be available in future for the better planning and fewer delays. We have the alternatives, and we have to assign the person for a specific time, and we have to free that person after some time. So we have to utilize our resources in better way. By allocation we can see that which skill we are utilizing and for how much time we needed that skill. Resource utilization. Resource utilization is a resource management technique that enables you to gain visibility into the capacity of your team over a period of time. Like for a month, I am hiring a person of the skills that needed in our project, and that skills are not needed in future for any other project. So we are not hiring a new employee inside our organization, because in other on other hand we are hiring a person for a temporary basis. So we are not going towards a permanent hiring, we are going towards a temporary hiring. So we have to estimate which skill is needed, how for how much time that skill is needed. That skill is needed on the permanent basis or on the temporary basis. So according to that we have to use the resources according to their capacity and according to their visibility. So according to we have that technique enables us to gain the visibility into the capacity of our team over a some period of time and identify whether the resources are being over or underutilized. So we have to estimate that, like I have told you, that we are not overutilizing any resource. If we are overutilizing any human resource, that resource will go towards the dissatisfaction, and if we are overutilizing any machine, we are reducing the age of that machine. So this is critical because studies shows that the resource who are overutilized frequently experience the burnout. Sometimes the person who is overburdened can quit from the job. So utilization reports reveal where resources are spending their time, so you can see if there are opportunities to improve their effectiveness, productivity, and performance while keeping their workloads manageable. So we are going towards the training for that persons. We have to improve the skills of our employees by estimating their time. We are not overburdenizing any resource. So we have to utilize either that there is a balance between the capacity of a person and before use of that person. Like if the person we have hired for the 4 hours, we are giving the task according to their capacity. We are not giving the time to that resource up to 6 hours or 8 hours. Resource leveling. Resource leveling is used to balance demand and supply. So we have are managing our resource according to the demand. So it is the important process to maximize the resource across one or more projects based on their skill. If there is a demand, they will inform before the time, like before 1 week or before 2 weeks, and we will manage our resources in that time, getting the most value out of the resources you already have before you consider adding headcount or hiring a contractor. So we are not hiring any new person or a person that are handling each and everything. We are working according to the demand. People often have different skill sets, many of which are underutilized. So we are not getting the work according to all skills of that person. So we can say that that resource is underutilized. So we have to assign the task according to their All the skills are according to their different skills. The goal of this resource management technique is to understand all of the skills your people have and where they may be able to fill the gaps so you can minimize your resource spend. Resource forecasting. As important as resource management is to ensure the current project runs smoothly with the appropriate resources, we are forecasting things in advance. The real benefit comes with being able to plan ahead to keep resources balanced across current and future projects. So we are estimating all the resources are available for the pipeline projects are not. So you must know the current capacity as well as the upcoming projects and their requirements. So we are not thinking about the project that is in working or processing state. We are planning the other projects along that continue project. So resource forecasting enables to make the predictions, identify potential conflicts, and rank resources on the timeline. So we have to consider that which resources have to be updated before the time. Now, what are the economic resources? We have discussed the resources and how we can manage that resources, which are the techniques of managing that resources and for management of that resources. And we have studied about the benefits of the resource management. Now we will discuss the economic resources. Economic resources are the factors used in producing goods or providing services. So the resources that are needed whenever we are going towards the production level. That production is about any product or any service. So in other words, there are the inputs that are used to create things or help you to provide the services. Either that services according to the demand of the user, like internet service or any other service. So economic resources can be divided into the human resources such as labor and management, and non-human resources such as land, capital, goods, financial resources, and technology. I told you in the start the resources are there are two types of resources: human resources and non-human resources. When we are giving any input and we have to get the output for that, in that scenario we can say that these are the economic resources, the things that helps to get the output from given input. We are utilizing that the economic resources. So an economy is a system of institutions and organizations that either help to facilitate or directly involved in production and distribution of goods and services. We are only working with the production area. So economic resources are the inputs we use to produce and distribute goods and services. So the precise provision of each factor of production will vary from product to product and from service to service. So according to the product, the raw material will be changed and the resources also change. So according to the product, we can utilize different type of resources. So the goal is to make the most effective use of resources that maximize the output at least the possible cost. So we are not only fulfilling the cost, also we have to manage the profit ratio for our organization. So misallocation or improper use of resources may cause business and even entire economics to the failure, and can we go towards the failure. Now we will discuss the human resources and non-human resources. First of all, we will discuss the human resources. In human resources, different things are different humans are involved. The first human is the labor. That is the most important thing. If there is no labor, we are unable to produce anything. So labor is one of the classic factor of production along with the land and capital discussed by the economist for well over a century. So in labor, the persons who are directly involved in production phase is involved. So these are the most important, or we can say that the main part of our production, and that are doing the 40% or 50% of our work. So even in today's technology advanced world, human labor is still needed. like many of the factories and many of the organizations are using the robotic machines for different tasks, like for packing and for other purposes. But still, for many tasks, we cannot use the robots or other machines. We have to use the human labor for many services. So different types of labor include production labor and service labor. So an example of production labor is a factory worker, and the service labor involves the people involved in provide services like doctors, lawyers, accountants, salespeople, machines, and plumbers. So these are the persons who are providing the services, and the persons who are working inside the factory for the production, that are the factory labor, or that are the production labor. Now the management, the persons who are managing the work as well as the labor that are involved in the management. So that is also a sort of human resources. Employees were required to oversee and manage the workload of all the persons, and we have to check either all the persons are doing their work or not. So the management is the resource that is used to facilitate the efficient and effective production or operations of a business, so it can accomplish its goal. So we are not only seeing the work of our laborers, and if they need any help or any training, the management will give the resources or the trainings or the help towards that labors. So rather than being directly involved in production or services, managers coordinate, monitor, and direct employees engaged in the production or service. So they are working at the upper level of the labor. So examples of management include the supervisor and president and manager, and any person in the organization who is managing the labors or different resources. Now we will discuss the non-human resources. In non-human resources, all the tangible things are involved that we are using to produce the thing, or we are using to the humans are using for their work. So they can be seen, experienced, and used by the people. Non-human resources, also known as material resources, that includes cars, hospitals, banks, libraries, parks, petrol pumps, computers, books, clocks, plants, and money, etc. All the things are involved in that. Any machine that we are using, these are the non-human resources. Even we are using the expenses, we that is also non-human resource. Resource requirements are defined by the project manager. Which resources are required, how much time, for how much time that resource is needed, we have to mention that, and that things are mentioned by the manager. They have to establish the resource needed to execute the work on the project. Complete the following steps to define the resource requirement. The manager will do that steps. In the work breakdown structure, create one or more tasks. We are dividing over whole project into into smaller tasks. So then we have to assign a journal team member to each task. The assignments will update the total effort of project team member. We are not only mentioning the resources, non-human resources, we also have to mention the human resources. So first of all, we have to divide over work into smaller tasks, and according to these tasks, we have to assign the human resources and non-human resources. How we can define the requirements? We have to know what work is required. We have to plan in advance, confirm the resource availability, and we have to check either the resource skills are matched with the task or not. And then we have to remember to book the equipment if we are taking that resource on the installments or on the rent basis. Now we will discuss these one by one. We must know the scope, the reason, the background of each project. So we must know about what work is required and why that work is required. So we have to make sure that we have the detailed or the brief introduction of the project that we are going to start. So you and client should have a common understanding of what is included in the project. Like if we are producing the pen, we must have to decide that which color is needed, which at which cost we have to produce that pen, or what capacity of ink is needed. So we have to decide which work is required before starting off our production. So confirm the scope with the whoever needs to approve the work going ahead. So we are not considering that which kind of people is using that thing. Like I have gave the example of pen, we are only focusing what is the requirement of our customer. So when you know what the scope of the project is, you can start to look at the resource required. So according to that, we can mention which resources are required, and then we will start the work, and we will break down our work into different smaller parts or in different small tasks. Now we have to plan in advance. When we have decided which work is required, now we have to assign the resources. We have to assign human resources and non-human resources in advance. We are not working on the phenomena that whenever we have to do that work, then we will decide which things are required. In advance, we have to plan each and everything. So we have to plan in advance. So this is too much risk involved if we are waiting until you need a particular resource and then trying to book them. Sometimes that resource will not be available at that certain time, or we have no cost to purchase that resource, or that resource is short inside the market. So there will be risk if we are not booking that resource in advance. So we have to do over future work before start of our project. So this exercise of booking resources in advance is part of capacity planning. Like we have the capacity to produce thousands or 2,000 of pens because we have arranged all the resources before the time. So we can say that we have the capacity to produce 2,000, 4,000, or 6,000 of pens. So it's essential to make sure that you have a solid flow of work through the organization. Now we have to confirm the resource availability. Like before 1 week, we have to ensure that either the resources available or not. So perhaps someone is available to your project 50% of the time. So we have, like we are hiring a person on hourly basis or on the daily wages. So that person is available at morning time or evening time. We have to decide in advance. What does the actual means? 50% of means either the full of the week or 50% of their time after a percentage has been sliced off. Like we can say that 50% means 3 days of week, or that means 4 to 6 on daily basis. So we have to decide that, or some other, there is some other calculation like 1 day on 1 day off. So we have to decide everything. Check how much you expect from that resources. When you are comfortable that resource you need is available at the time you need, allocate the appropriate task to that person. So we are assigning the similar task to that person according to their availability. Now we are not giving any irrelevant work to any person. We have to check the skills before assigning any work to any person. So do the people you want on the project still have to up to date skills? If they need any updation, we have to provide the trainings, and after their training we will allocate these resources to the new project. So we have to check the skill list of our employees, and we must have updated skill list of our employees. If no one is available with the skill you need, it's time to think about the training. You may have the people who could do the job with a bit of support, like sometimes the person can do a work with the guidelines, so we can hire that person and we can help him or her to do that work. We have to book the equipment. We have to mention at that date, we have to send the reminder, and for that week or for that month we have to use that equipment in advance. We have to book the appointment, or we have to book that equipment. When we tend to focus on the resource as being the humankind, but there are other types of resources that are important, that are non-human resources. Equipment is another kind of resource that you can book. Schedule what you need so that it is available for you when you need it. Requirements, like which are over requirements for any project. There can be raw materials, equipment, human resources, technology, facilities, and the time. So we will discuss these requirements one by one. Raw materials are the inputs that we are giving to any factory or any project, and in according to that input they will generate or they will create the different projects. So examples of raw material include steel, oil, corn, grain, plastic, natural gas, coal, and minerals. For example, the steel is used to manufacture the vehicles, would be a raw material for an automobile manufacturer. Equipment is the tangible long-term asset like machines that we can use over several years. Computers, trucks, and manufacturing machinery are the examples of equipment. Common equipment includes the furniture, telephone system, photocopiers and printers, computer software, stationary storage equipments like USB disk, collaboration tools like whiteboards, bulletin board, projectors, office waste, and recycling tools. So these are involved in the equipment. Human resources, the employees that can be labor, that can be management. So these are the human resources. A human resource is one person within a company overall workforce with each person leading their skill. We must have a skill set of all the person, their talent must be known by the organization head. Any person willing to trade their labor, knowledge, or time for the compensation in an effort to improve the organization is human resource. Whenever they are putting their skill for the production, that means these are the human resource. So employees must be hired, satisfied, motivated, developed, and retained, because the main part of our organization is humans. If the humans are working well with the machines, we can produce the things in more effective way. So we have to work in a team environment, we have to utilize our human resources, we have to polish over the skills of our human resources, and we have to work for their satisfaction. So the human resources department is the department that manages a company's human resources. The technology of the organization improve the performance and effectiveness of the products, like any updated machines that are needed to improve our performance are involved in the technology. So another importance of the role of the technology in business is to provide the security to the business, like we are using different type of equipment through which we can improve our securities, like we are using the firewalls inside our computers so we can secure our data. So major advancements in the electronic security system and biometric alarm systems are, like fire alarms are included in our security things. So the things that helps us to save over material, over raw material, and over humans, over data from the hackers or from any disaster, these are included in our technology. Facilities represents the built environment, including the building, road, and parking a lot, and the plumber, electrical, heating, and cooling infrastructure system necessary to support an organization's functions and services. So these are involved in the facilities. Now, time means, like we can say that time is money. The easiest way to lose control of project is to ignore your utilization. We are not fulfilling our timelines, we can lose over project. So it's impossible to know exactly how long each step of your plan will take to accomplish. We can estimate the time. As you become more experienced project manager, you should be getting closer on your estimation. There will be little bit fluctuation when you are experienced person. As each step is completed, you must check and compare the time spent you as according to your estimated, and following task will be managed according to their decided time. Are you on track? We have to check that we are on track, we are behind the time, or we have done the task before the time. So 2 out of 3 of these choices require additional effort on your part. If you are ahead, you might have to adjust resources or schedules. If you are behind, you better to analyze why and letting your clients know. Like we can take extra 1 week for the completion of our project, or we have to increase our labor. So we can complete our work within time. Now, resource management skills. These skills are needed to manage our resources in more effective way. These resources includes communication skills, conflict resolution. We have to solve the conflicts, domain knowledge, proactive planning, negotiation skills, and risk management. We will discuss these one by one. Communication skills, we have to convince the people in effective way. We have to talk with people in polite way. We have to handle our clients as well as our employees in a smoother way. So we must know which communication skills are required to fulfill the to satisfy our employees as well as our customers. So resource managers are accountable to fulfilling the resource requests from the project manager by assigning the job to the right resource. So since they act as a mediators in the process, it's imperative to have a standard communication skill. If they are shouting or they are not using a proper communication skill, no one is facilitating them. So it will enable them to explain the roles and responsibility to resources better, while also making the reasoning with the project managers seamless. So we have to decide or we have to choose a person who is who have well communication skills for a mediator between the resource manager and the customer and the employees. Conflict resolution, like we are working on 2 or 3 projects and the same resources are required by 2 or 3 projects, we there can be a conflict. So we have to manage these conflicts. So we must have project manager must have the skills how they can solve these type of conflicts. So it may lead to the worst when we are facing the conflict. It can lead towards the lack of transparency in defining the goals, and objectives can lead to the resource being clueless, which can also result in the inconsistencies. So we have to face different type of challenges. We have to sort out these challenges according to our available resources, and we have to utilize or manage our resources in most effective way. So it's the job of resource manager to get involved, set the expectations right, and ensure that everyone is on the same page to keep work going on. There will not be any halt whenever the work is in progress. We have to solve if there is any miscommunication between the employees, or if there is any ambiguity in the work, we have to solve that as a resource manager. Domain knowledge, we must have a knowledge at which production level and in for which services we are working. We must have a knowledge about that. So that is the responsibility of resource manager to allocate the right resources to the right job. So it is very important to understand the skill set that is needed for us any task. So if the resource manager with no engineering knowledge is working for an engineering firm, it will put forth resource planning challenges. They will not assign the relevant resources to the relevant task because they don't know about the resources or the set of resources. For that, they must have a domain expertise for better assigning of the resources. Proactive planning, we have to plan actively with over intelligence and with over brain. So we have every project manager aims to complete the project within time and the budget, which makes forward planning and critical aspect. So since success highly relies on the workforce, resource manager need to be extremely proactive to fulfill the demand. So we have to respond very actively. So they should intelligently calculate and do the calculated decisions whenever there is any conflict and every problem arise. We have to sort that by implementing the right resourcing treatments. Negotiation skills, like we have 10 persons and the company is only handing over us the 9 persons, or we need 3 skills in one person and the person has 2 skill. We have to manage that things as a resource manager. So the resource planning is complex job and bring challenges for the resource manager. For example, a project manager has requested an employee with the advanced level technical skills. If one skill is missing and it's expensive to hire another resource, now they have to negotiate The manager have to convince the project owner to hire another person or to train the relevant person for that skill that is needed. In such cases, manager must be able to negotiate well and get the job done. Risk management, like there are the risk, like we have decided each and everything and we have assigned the task towards all the employees. There can be a natural disaster, some machines stop working, or some human go on the prolonged unplanned leaves, so the a running project come to halt, but we have to manage that situation. So if they have a backup plan, like I told you in the start, we have to work on the alternative. So you must have a plan B all the time. So these situation will be easy to deal whenever we are facing such type of risk or such type of errors. So risk are expected in the project landscape. Thus, the resource manager should enhance their risk management skill with the forward planning to keep the project going, because we cannot take the break. These are the key elements for a successful resource management: visibility, engagement, mobility, collaboration, and teamwork, and using social tools. Visibility, you need complete visibility that drills down into nuts and bolts of stock. We must have a vision. Which resources are required? We can see or forecast the future in advance. So we must have the idea how much stock is needed, how much finance is needed, which expertise are needed, which IT resources are needed. So we must have a broad vision about that task. So the right tools help you to see this across all the projects and plan and allocate your resources appropriately. So anything less results in only a partial view and will lead to the inefficiencies. If we are missing anything from our resources, it will go towards the delays, increase the cost, or sometimes we can miss the deadlines and we will not be able to go towards the success. Engagement, we have to involve our employees in their work. So remember that any business success or failure rests on its people, because people are using the machines, and if they are not using their machines effectively, the machines can't do anything. So more engaged workforce will mean a more motivated workforce. So we have to engage people in the work, and we have to assign the relevant task according to their interests. So not only does that make for a nicer environment for everyone, it is also means the higher productivity in the less time. So they are not wasting the time, and we are not wasting the time on training the new staff. We have to manage over experienced staff in a well mannered. Mobility, this is the mobile age. We have to use the mobile application, and we have to assign the remotely doing job. So it's better to access the stakeholder have to resource management tools, the more effectively they will be. So mobile apps that provide the ability to log on from anywhere mean you are and the rest of the team can constantly aware of what happening where. So we have to utilize that remote age and the mobile apps. Collaboration and teamwork. As we know, the teamwork matters a lot. If we have a perfect project manager and his or her team is not helping him or her and not doing their work, he or she individually can't do anything. If two or three team members are not doing their work well, that will affect all the work in the end. So we have to do a work in a team manner, and all the members have to do their work individually, and but they have to focus on the same goal. So project management by its very definition relies on different factors coming together in right place at the right time. But it is clear that even the best project manager in the world cannot guarantee project success without the support and collaboration of other team members. So today's resource management tools provide a platform, collaboration, and team working that is unparalleled. So we have to work on the environment so all the persons can do their work well. So using social tools, we must use the social tools for the communication purpose because we have limited time in the office. So after the office hours, if we want to discuss any thing, we have to use the social tools, emails, WhatsApp, and other things for the communication. So we have to cooperate with each other. We have to do the teamwork, and for that teamwork we have to communicate with one another. So social platforms are the 21st century remote equivalent of those chats around the water coolers or in the smoking area, where relationships are built and teams united in years gone by. So we have to give them the environment in which they can understand each other. If we are not managing our resources, what can be the impacts? The first thing is that it will increase the project cost. Incompetent allocation are booking high cost resources instead of low cost but similarly skilled workforce spikes the project budget. So we have to manage our resources according to budget. If we are poorly managing our resources, it will increase the budget and it will decrease the profitability. So since the resources, skills, and competencies are not utilized most effectively, the project cost will increase, causing the unnecessary budget overruns. So we have to manage our use the machines according to our budget. We have to reduce, it will reduce the employee performance. If we are burdenizing any person and we are assigning the task and that is not relevant to their skill, we are dissatisfying our customer, so our employee. So poor employee performance, the first and the foremost indicator of sub optimal resource management. Unrealistic expectations, over allocations, or booking without considering employee interest and skill can contribute to the reduced engagement and productivity. They are not doing their work well if we are overburdenizing them and we are not giving the task according to their interest. So it will affect the project's quality and lower down the employee morale. High employee turnover. When they are not satisfied, they will switch the jobs. So employees feel discouraged and dissatisfied when their strength and skills are not used properly at their best level. So overutilization due to the unrealistic deadlines can lead to employee burnout. We are overburdenizing them. These circumstances can compel them to look the opportunities from in other organization will which will gradually increase the employee turnover. Delays in meeting project deadlines with the visibility of team members and their skill set resource may get allocated to projects that do not match their competencies. So it will, they don't know how to do that work, how they can do the work timely. So it can result in delivery delays as significant time will be spent to learn on the job before coming to the productivity. So delays in the meeting deadlines also blow up the project cost because we are taking too much time and we have to pay extra for if we are taking any resource on the rent. So it will increase the budget. Client dissatisfaction and loss of business. And our customer is not satisfied, they can switch towards any other organization. So inefficient resource management practices leads to poor resource allocation, which causes teams to put in longer hours for meeting project goals. So in the end, they are not meeting their deadlines. There will be overloaded work, will be put on pressure on the employees. Thereby, they will increase the errors inside their work due to that pressure. So it will delay the delivery, and we will be compromising the quality, and budget spike can be done. So this cause the loss, this will go towards the customer dissatisfaction, and when our customer is not satisfied, it will not give the next project to us, or sometimes it can take the current project from our organization. So the decision makers must therefore formulate an effective resource management plan to avoid facing these concerns. Manager can formulate this plan using advanced resource management software. Different sort of softwares are available for the resource management tasks. Is there any issue in the lecture?
Hi, so far it's I'm quite familiar some of it. because I'm also working for the resource management, so it's like an enhancement to me, some of the terms even.
Okay, have you any
So
question?
far it's quite clear. No, so far
Oh,
it's clear.
okay. Thank you. Take care.
And thank you so much.
Okay, have
Have
a
a good
nice day.
night. Thank you
Allah
so
Hafiz.
much.